So there's a pretty interesting new convert to the Medicare For All cause. MSNBC host Joy Reid now says she cannot see one reason not to go forward with M4A. Here's her tweet. I will admit to being a past M4A skeptic with a lot of questions about what happens to union negotiated PPO plans, etc. Though a good friend whose family is a GM family in Flint told me she would far prefer M4A, I can't think of one good reason today to keep the current system. All right. I have a lot of thoughts about this.
Yeah, tell me.
Okay, so first of all, here's the thing. On one level, you're like, okay, just take yes for an answer, right? You've won someone over. This person sees, and there are probably other Americans, and that's what polling shows, who in the pandemic are like, oh my goodness, this whole employer-based system is a disaster. Turns out Medicare for All was the right choice. So that is good, and I'm glad about that. Let me just be clear about that. And this is a person who now has a primetime MSNBC show, by the way. So this is an influential individual. However, and Joy is someone who she just does not like Bernie Sanders. Like on a personal level, she just finds him objectionable. And so I think that it becomes clear that that was really the thing that was keeping her from supporting a policy that is good policy. That and, of course, like the corporate influence that is endemic to all of corporate media, including MSNBC, of course. So it's very convenient that now that Bernie is out of the running, no longer a threat, and you have a likely incoming Joe Biden administration who is dead set against Medicare for All.
Veto it.
Right, he said he would veto it. He's dead set against it. They drew a hard line on it on the Unity Task Force. So, like, Medicare for All is not even in the offing for at least 4 years. So it's very safe to be for it now when there's not really any chance of it actually passing.
Yeah, and I mean, from a when it mattered perspective, you have to recall what she was actually saying. And luckily we have a clip of what she was actually saying about it at the time. Let's take a listen.
So going through the challenges in trying to do healthcare, including the big amount of taxes you'd have to raise, taking 250 million people off their healthcare and putting them on this program that the government runs and all of that, you know, and Benji Solomon asked the question, are the Bernie-crats going to accuse any Democrat who doesn't sign on to that whole blue plate special? Are they going to accuse them of being establishment and walk away from them the way that a percentage of Sanders supporters walked away from Hillary Clinton? Is there a risk that in 2018 you have a faction of Democrats who are so purist that if you don't sign on to that Bernie bill, you're done, and they will literally threaten the re-election of Democrats and threaten Democrats' ability to take over a House of Congress?
Pretty remarkable, right? I mean, that's how hard, she was going that hard against the policy on her own show back, you know, not that long ago during the campaign. So I just think it's kind of what I think is strange about it is it's an acceptable position now that it's no longer actually a reality. And it reminds me kind of what Republicans would do with repeal and replace Obamacare. Like whenever Obama was not, they're like, we're going to repeal and replace. And they'd said it over and over again. But then the time came to actually do it. And they're like, oh, no. Like, we can't do this. And they couldn't get their act together. So that it seems that they're trying to adopt politically useful language and then use that at a time when they know it won't actually be a reality. Because the true colors are pretty evident to me there.
I mean, Joy was aggressively anti-Bernie during the primary. I mean, most of MSNBC was, but I would say she was in particular. And there was this view, and by Mimi Rocah, remember, who now is apparently DA of Westchester County, went on and was like, he just makes my skin crawl. I don't know what it is. I just don't like him. And so I think that sense, there was this just like personal dislike of him that was not really based on anything, was really a commonplace feeling over at MSNBC. They sort of constructed this alternative image of him that they just absolutely despised and could not abide. And so they don't want to grant him any point, including on the policy points of Medicare for All. But now, as you put it, it's very safe to back these policies because it doesn't threaten anyone's interest because it's not actually going to come to pass, right? So you can back it and you can get like the progressive cred for doing it. It's sort of like policy virtue signaling. Now, again, look, I'd rather have people like Joy make that move now, and then once you're on the record for Medicare for All down the road, when it becomes another real possibility, hopefully you can sort of hold them to their past positions. Not that always works out, but it provides some track record. You can say, look, this is what you said here. Here we have a candidate who can actually get this thing done, so we hope that you're on board. I would rather have people like that come around, open their eyes during the pandemic, and make a switch. But it's very convenient and very safe right now to do so when there is no actual threat to anyone's corporate interests of Medicare for All.
I think it was Ryan Grimm who said that Bernie had to die so his ideas could live. So maybe that's what it is. I don't know.
There you are. All right, more Rising for you after this.